Hey everyone, and welcome to our first webinar for Roadie users. And today we're going to talk about content creation tips for musicians. We asked you a month ago what you'd like to hear about in our first webinar, and the top choice among our Discord community members was clear. As independent musicians, creating compelling content is key to building your brand, to engaging with fans, standing out in a crowded music industry. And whether it's mastering social media, crafting the perfect video, or planning your release strategy, effective content can make all the difference in your career. So today we're thrilled to have Ladi Day with us. And not only is she an expert in the fields of content creation and social media, but she's also played a key role in shaping Roadie, helping us develop tools and features that many of you are already using. And before we dive in, I just want to let you know again about the special offer for anyone just joined us. So you can book a one-on-one mentorship session with Ladi Day at 33% off, only $50 instead of 75. To enjoy this discount, click the button at the bottom of the screen. This will redirect you to the IndieFlow login page. You should use your Roadie credentials to log in, not to sign up, but to log in. And then use the code LADIWebinar to redeem your discount for the mentorship session. But first, Ladi, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your journey in the music industry?
Yeah, sure. So I actually started out in the music industry on the creative side as a songwriter. I had moved to LA to pursue that whole thing. I wanted to write for Beyonce, Rihanna, you name it. It hasn't happened yet, but still banking on that. And then the pandemic happened, and so I had to do some pivoting. And from there, everyone was, working virtually and remote. And so I kind of fell down the social media content creation marketing rabbit hole in two different ways. So one, I got approached by TikTok to join their creator program. And so that's how I kind of learned the in and outs of video, short form video content creation. This is back in like 2020. And then on the flip side, I was working with startups and smaller artists to be able to help them with their content and branding strategy based on the things that had worked for me personally. So it was really cool being able to approach things from the content creation side, but also from the consulting side. And I still do those things to this day. Now here I am with IndieFlow, who I'm super happy to be working with and chatting with you all today.
Yeah, we've been going a long way now.
Yeah.
Cool. So now let's dive into the topic for today. And we'll start with, I think, a main question. What are the key elements of effective content for musicians?
Honestly, I think when it comes to the effectiveness of content, especially in 2024, it's about authenticity. And I know people are so tired of hearing that word, but it's really true. Consumers are smarter than ever. And so when they can tell that you're coming from an honest place and they know that it's something that they can relate to, it makes them want to be more engaged with whatever it is that you're showing them. So, for example, you know, um, Dochi just dropped her project and she's from Florida. And so she kind of leaned into, the alligator and swamp and all these things that are very true to her being a Florida native. So, like, when you do things that relate to your background and things that you do, that can capture audiences, even if it's not someone who's from the same exact place. If it is, that's great. But if not, people are like, oh, I don't know too much about Florida, but I want to know more about what the sound and the scene is like there. So when you come through in a way that's interesting but honest, that's super important.
So that's part of authenticity, if we have
Mm-hmm.
to sort of interesting. But content varies widely across,
Yeah.
different platforms, whether it's, of course, TikTok and Instagram. I've heard from different artists talking to them that it's not really, the same. Something that they did and created for TikTok would not necessarily work for Instagram. And definitely, obviously, it works the same for blogs or newsletters. I know you have a newsletter, podcast. So how should musicians adapt, their content for these different outlets?
Yeah. So I feel you on that because I'm someone who does all the things: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and then also newsletter. And I do writing as a journalist too. So what I recommend for the most part with musicians is that you don't want to spend too much of your time creating content. So like repurposing is going to be your bag. So let's say you have, a long form music video. As you're filming that music video, what you should be doing is getting BTS, like recording any of the bloopers. A lot of the time, all the content you need is related to what you're already doing. So don't feel like you need to do too much outside the box. If you're a singer, sing. Singing a cappella drives people crazy in a good way across content. If you're a rapper, freestyle. They have this feature in TikTok called duets where you can find a beat and then you can freestyle on it. And there have been people who have gotten signed off that. So a lot of good can come out of just doing the things that you normally do. And you don't necessarily need to create content specific to every single platform. I think just about understanding the nuances. So for instance, if you're using a clip from a YouTube video, any short form platform has different dimensions than a YouTube video. So you would be able to slice that into 9:16, and then you can post that all over. But for the most part, when it comes to YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram Reels, you want to use something called their native sounds, because these platforms are going to push your content the more that you engage with them directly. So especially if you have copyrighted content, right? So if you have a song that's released and you have content ID, which I hope you don't, you don't want to be posting that audio everywhere else because it'll get flagged by each of those platforms. You want to look for the sound, sync the sound to the piece of the video that you're posting, and do that natively on every app. And that can be tedious, but it's going to be worth it because you're going to be able to hopefully get the results that you want if you stay consistent with that. And also, this stuff performs well on other platforms. It does well on Threads. It does well on X, formerly known as Twitter. It even can do well on LinkedIn, which a lot of folks don't realize that there are music professionals who are on there as well. So repurpose as much as possible so you don't have to spend too much time creating original content.
That's amazing. That's amazing. But you just mentioned, X, and you mentioned Threads, and there's also TikTok, and then there's Instagram, and on YouTube you have YouTube Shorts. That's kind of overwhelming.
It's a lot.
You have a first, like the go-to, the first platform that you would recommend, artists who just start
out? Everyone who makes music should be active on. If I had to pick, so here's the thing, different platforms are different things. So like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts, those are like short form video platforms. So everyone should be on those by default. But if I had to add one other one, I would pick X. And I know people feel away about X because of who owns it. But in terms of just active music executives and the potential to reach fans, there's a lot of organic reach that's possible on X. And the other thing too, now with posting on Instagram, you can kind of set your settings if you have the app in creator mode, which I hope you all do. Anytime you post something to your feed, it can automatically post to Threads. So there's also ways to get things in places without you having to be there. If you ever post on Instagram, always set it to it automatically post to Threads and automatically post to Facebook, because then you don't have to engage on there as much. But really, the big three is YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, because they're very sound heavy, and that's what you guys specialize in.
And you mentioned X. As a musician, what types of content would you recommend posting on X?
So
sort of limitations, it's
not. Yeah. So here's the thing with X. It's about, more than anything, yes, it's about the content you post, but it's also about the way that you engage. So like, I'm very active on X. Some of you may or may not know that. And that's helped me, that's opened a lot of doors in a lot of unexpected ways. And essentially, you don't want to just post into the ether, especially if you don't have that much of a following. You want to engage with other accounts. So that means engaging with people who are like yourself, other artists, engaging with people who are farther ahead of you, artists that you might look up to or want to collaborate with, engaging with artists that are maybe newer and behind you, like folks who are inspired by what you're doing, and then engaging with fans or potential fans, but also with different types of, content accounts or promotion accounts. So if you're in the hip hop community, there's something called hip hop Twitter, and folks know about this, right? It's like you have, SK Rap Talks SK, or you have Rap Alert 6 or Shrek Raps, or like Hip Hop Guru or whatever. Like, there are all these different pages, so they have those for different genres, R&B, pop, alternative, and whatnot. So it's good to engage with those accounts too, because then if they see you, they might say, oh, like, I actually like what they're doing here, and maybe I want to collab with them or repost their stuff or whatever. So a lot of it is posting original content, but more so it's also engaging with whatever conversations are happening. And because on X you can see what's trending a lot of the time, you can kind of see if whatever you have in your catalog can kind of latch on to what's happening, and follow that
That's a great
shift.
tip. That's
Yeah.
a great tip. You hear that? So that's a great tip.
Yeah. But also keep in
Um,
mind, like, video really is king, and short form video in a lot of ways. So like whatever short form you would post to TikTok and wherever else, post that to X too, because people will see that and be like, oh, this is actually cool.
which leads me to the next question, more about, platform, what the types of content. If we focus, as you said, on the big three: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, what kinds of, content musicians can create? Like, myself recording myself, doing vocals
Yeah.
in the studio. What
Yeah.
works best from your experience with
Yeah. So
artists?
different types of things work. Some of it can be performance content. So if you're doing a show anywhere, get a homie in the crowd to get a video that you can post online. Sometimes you could do, again, like any sort of like BTS stuff is fun, because there are some people who have never seen what it looks like behind the scenes of a music video, right? Or they want to follow the journey of someone who's upcoming doing that. So like any of that stuff that kind of shows the thing that's not just front and center is really cool. I love when people kind of mimic other types of content that exists. So Genius will do like kind of breakdowns on lyrics. And so when people kind of do their own version of that, that can be really fun. And who knows, maybe someone from Genius will see it and reach out when your song, does numbers, right? I also love anything that ties to the native platform. So like, again, TikTok is really good with this, and you can also do it on Instagram. Anything called like a duet or a stitch. So that is essentially a continuation of existing content, like a collaboration, or it's recording over a sound. So if you sing or if you rap, which you all do if you're artists, you need to be utilizing that. Like, when I tell you people have gotten deals, it is, I am not joking. Like, one duet can have every A&R that you've been banging on the door of like come to you. So it's really about that sort of stuff. And also like, for anyone who knows how to play instruments or produce, that type of content goes so crazy. And a thing that people sleep on a lot is going live. So on Instagram, people know about going live, and on TikTok, you know about it too. But it's like being posted up with your guitar, playing something, telling folks to drop suggestions in the chat of like what you can play, like anything that kind of engages folks while they're tapping in, or like telling people, hey, tell me your name and I'll freestyle like a song about you. Like anything like that, people love that stuff. And then, and the thing with lives is that they also get recorded, so you can go in the back end and take a look. And if anything actually sounds decent, you can turn that into like a whole song, and then you can make content about that. And hey, I wrote my new song based off going live for like 30 minutes.
Would Ask Me Anything work when you're,
Oh yeah, you can do an Ask Me Anything. You can do an Ask Me Anything for sure. And one thing I love about going live too is like having like green screen. So it's like you
yeah.
can have like things on there, and folks can like ask you stuff based on that. But it's just, being able to like engage folks.
Mhm. So, part of I think the pains that independent musicians are, all experience is, again, being overwhelmed not just by the number of platforms that you're expected to be on. It just also that what should I post next? When should I post next? Frequency. How can, like planning ahead is really crucial here when,
Yeah.
especially when you have, a release coming up in a few weeks or
Yeah.
months, and you need to think ahead. How can musicians create a, content calendar that aligns with the release schedule or other promotional goals?
Yeah, so I'll use an example of an artist that I'm working with right now, actually. So his name is Ian Kelly. He has a project coming out in less than 10 days. And
I'm
so
writing it down.
I started working with him very recently. And so I, at first, like, it's just about like assessing your bandwidth. So I told him, I said, okay, look, we have less than 10 days to promote this project. Ideally, you will do something every day to promote it. And he was like, I can commit to that. I said, okay, great. Then I asked him, how often do you want to be like creating content? Because I personally find it easier when you quote unquote batch, which means that you do multiple videos at once as opposed to doing something each day you're trying to post it. So he was like, okay, well, today, which literally today, he's like, I have like a freer day, but then it's busy the rest of the week. I said, okay, great. So spend today recording the videos that we talked about, get 4 or 5 ready up until, you're free again on Sunday or something. And then you can do a couple more. And then, so I'm not going to give too much away, but for those who don't know, today is Beyonce's birthday. And I had on an earlier consult, I had asked him like, who are like dream artists that you don't want to work with, and he was like, oh, Jay-Z, which pretty much anyone who raps wants to work with Jay-Z. So I said, okay, well, Beyonce's birthday is coming up. Like maybe you should do something that ties that in, and who knows, it might get his or her attention because quiet as it's kept, even though they're not active that much on their main accounts, they see things on social based on what they talk about in their music. So I was like, okay, like make sure you tie in her birthday because that she's literally the wife of this person that you want to collaborate with. And then I had told him, make sure that you're using certain hashtags, right? So I always tell artists, whatever your artist name is, make that a hashtag. So his name is Ian Kelly. So I told him, make sure every time you post content, use your hashtag Ian Kelly, because if anything goes crazy, you want it to be tied to your name, which is also tied to your handle. And then, of
Mhm.
course, hashtag independent artist, hashtag hip hop, hashtag rapper, that sort of thing. Because folks who are looking for that type of content or related folks can be able to easily find you. So like hashtags are good for like SEO, even if not in terms of like global search on the internet for that app specifically. So I don't care what anyone says, hashtags are not dead. Make sure you use hashtags wherever you can in a way that makes sense. And then in terms of content, it just really in terms of the actual content of the content, his whole point of his project is that like summer is not over, and I said, hey, like it's September and people do this thing every time. As soon as September 1st starts, they want to say it's fall. And I was like, it's not fall though. Like fall doesn't start until like the 22nd or 23rd. So I told him like just kind of like do some stuff that's like a play on that to remind people that, summer is not done. And then of course his project is coming out before summer is over. So just playing into different things. Like it's all about looking at things on a macro level in terms of what's going on in the world, what's going on in your city, what's going on the internet, like what's happening. And then also on a micro level, what's going on with you, what's going on with your goals, what's going on with the music, what's going on with the visuals, and being able to tie those two things together so that way you're able to pull in both the audience on the micro level, but also on the macro level.
I love the tip, about using what we borrow from the marketing jargon, real-time marketing, using things
Yeah.
that are happening right now, obviously trends, but not just trends from the social media world necessarily, but everything that's happening you can utilize it. This is maybe a good time to mention that at Roadie, we've actually focused on making, creating a social calendar easier with tools that help you plan and schedule your content seamlessly. So we recently launched a new feature, the posting strategy chat. And this dedicated chat helps you to dive deeper into a unique posting strategy and basically step up your social media game. So you should definitely check it out. And if you guys have any questions to Lali, we're going to hold a short Q&A in the end. So feel free to drop any question you have. And now we'll move on to another part of content that is engaging with fans, because engaging with fans is a key. And what could be an effective way or some effective ways, tips for musicians to connect better with their audience, and I don't know, stir up conversation?
Yeah. Yeah. So top of funnel, and this is kind of like a sales term, is social media or shows. So it's kind of basically any time where you can potentially interact with someone who might not be familiar with who you are, but can become a fan. And then like end of funnel or bottom of funnel is like someone who's buying tickets to a show, someone who's, buying merch, like they're tapped in. So top of funnel again, like social media, which you have no direct contact, you have no data, you don't really have anything. And then bottom of
This is when
funnel is
they
like,
become aware of you, right?
yeah,
Become
yeah,
aware. Mhm.
exactly. And then bottom of funnel is where you have like a phone number, an email, or ideally both. So it's really about how do you get them from here to here. And I always say, like, you want to give them the opportunity to get there sooner rather than later, because that one time they see you, depending on how the algorithm goes, they might not see you again. So there's different ways to engage with folks and to bring them in. But first and foremost, I hope every single person in here has a newsletter or some sort of way to collect emails or text. That's really,
Mm.
really important. Just give people the option. So like even like on your website, there's always like pop-ups like, oh, if you like more updates, some people might let them be able to enter their email, or let them be able to enter a phone number. There's this app called Laylo, which is really good for it. Laylo, and I think it's like anywhere between free and like $15 a month. So you can kind of look into that. But from the social media standpoint, you want to create content that's quote unquote engaging. So you guys hear about like engagement and engagement rate, which is how often someone will like, comment, save, share. And there are different weights to those metrics. But at the end of the day, it's like anytime you post something, you want it to evoke some sort of reaction. So that can be, again, it could really be just a video of you doing your thing, whether that's singing or rapping. It could be, a more polished visual, like something from a music video. It could be, you showcasing another talent, like you playing an instrument or dancing. It could be you showcasing your personality. Like maybe you're into like, skits or doing something funny, like doing memes, like whatever. And there's different ways to approach that across social, but it's really about how do I get these people to one, stop scrolling and then take some sort of action from there. So that can happen either within the content, that can happen in the caption. So I've seen people do things where it's just like, hey, anytime someone like comments, like they'll reply back or they'll like send them a DM, be like, hey, like, thanks for engaging with this. Would love to send you and my song like early to check out type thing. So I think it's just really about whenever you get people to interact, is to interact back. The amount of times people will get comments or whatever and like not respond, I'm like, you only got like 12 comments. It does not take that long for you to respond to 12 people that interact with you.
Yes,
Every
to be
single
honest,
person that
someone.
comments needs to get a response or something, right? Because it's a way to pull people in. And this goes for going live too. Such a trick with going live is saying people's names. So whenever I go live on Instagram or on TikTok, I'll be like, hey, so and so, thanks for taking the chat. First of all, when people hear their name, they're kind of just like, oh, like, and it could be, it doesn't have to be like anything crazy, but they just feel acknowledged. And whether people like to admit it or not, everyone wants to be acknowledged. So one, when you say someone's name, they're gonna stop and they're gonna listen. Whatever you say next, they might stay or they might leave, but they're a lot more likely to stay if you call them to attention. And then also when you tell them to do something. So if you're like, hey, so and so, drop where you're from in the chat or something like that. Okay, then you've got that, right? And then from there you can follow up or what have you. But it's just about making sure that people know that you give a damn.
So another vote here for the live again, because it's not just, talking about yourself and creating content, but also a lot of engagement, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And you want to do it at every level. It's like, I don't care if you go live and there are 10 people. That's 10 more than 0. You know what I mean? Like 10 people cared to like tap in and listen to what you have to say. That's a big deal. Right. So it's like honor that and give people a sense. And I know we have questions. Are we just holding those till the end? The ones that come in the chat.
Yeah, but let's see if we have something here right now. No, I think we can keep them for
Okay.
5 minutes. We'll start the Q&A.
Okay, cool.
But this was a good point, how to actually measure your success,
Yeah.
like, okay, I posted something. I posted a new video, a new promotion.
Yeah.
Like, watch to track success is just as important as actually creating the content
Yeah.
itself. And people know, okay, likes and comments and shares and
Mhm.
saves and other different engagements or KPIs, key productive,
Yeah. Yeah.
another terrible marketing word, but
Yeah.
what metrics in these terms, what engagements are worth paying attention to more than others? What's more important for musicians to track here?
You know what's interesting? It varies by app, and if you just like do a quick search of like what matters more for this app, like saves or this, it'll literally tell you. So like for X, it'll tell you that a like weight, quote unquote, weighs more than any other type of metric. If for Instagram, it'll say a save. For TikTok, it'll say a share. So, excuse me. That's one way to look at it to kind of see like, okay, like what sort of engagement matters the most for these types of apps. But I don't want people to be too bogged down by metrics. Like, yes, like obviously if a video, goes viral, there is something to learn from that. But also you don't want to be pigeonholed by that sort of thing. So there are people who are musicians, right? And their whole thing is music, and maybe one day decided to do a skit just for fun, and the skit takes off like 100 times more than their music. Does that mean that everything you should do after that should be a skit? No, because you're a musician. Now, maybe next time you do a skit, you'll use like one of your songs as a sound, right? Because maybe you didn't do that the first time. Like there are different ways to capitalize. And for instance, if you go viral on TikTok, they always say make sure you do like a bunch of video replies because that viral video will drive traffic to the other video. So like there's different like kind of tips and tricks with stuff, but don't get too caught up in metrics. It's more so about like the consistency because some things might do well, some things might not. But the more content you put out, the more you can kind of get a sense of what works and what doesn't. And again, like because content does need to vary to an extent, if you don't want to get stuck doing the same exact thing, you might want to change it up. Some people do want to do the same thing. Like there are some folks who they have one style and it works for them. Like Cobby Lame, all he does is be quiet and go. And that gained him a multi-million person following, and that's his thing, right? But it's a little different for musicians. It just really depends on what it is. Like if it's your singing videos go viral every time, okay, keep singing because you do that anyway, right? But I think that's why it's also important to create content that resonates with you and that makes sense because you don't want to go viral for something that you don't want to be known
Yeah,
for.
right. Definitely. And speaking of, tracking, Roadie's analytics dashboards feature is designed to actually help you understand what's working and what's not across different platforms. And you get instant updates on how your fans are interacting with your music across social media and the streaming platforms, of course, but also actionable insights like ideas for your next post, for example. So you might want to check it out. And I think now it's the time to open up for some questions. And you feel free to ask anything about content creation and what we've been talking. And let's see. So there's one open here.
We got
At the end of the
Annabelle.
day, yeah, okay, so let's start with Annabelle. I see one other question by Corey, but let's start with Annabelle. Tips for musicians just starting out, how to grow from the ground up.
Okay.
That's that's a
So
big,
this is a little vague because are you saying that you just started making music or you just started being active on social? Those are two different things. So
yeah.
if you can elaborate really quick on what you mean by ground up, because the approach will be different depending on
Yeah.
what.
Okay. So, Annabelle, if you see that, if you're still with us, you can expand on that, and we'll try to answer that. So, Corey is asking, at the end of the day, finding your social tone of voice is a lot more simple than what we think. I feel like a lot of artists overthink it too much. What I personally struggle with, and I'm sure a bunch of others do as well, is consistency. Do you recommend doing like a social calendar every month? Like have a system where you take a few days only focusing on creating content for the month ahead, or the more ad hoc way of just posting spontaneously? Both are hard. And is there a specific tool you use to help with this?
Okay. I think either or is fine. I'm a Virgo, so I'm a content calendar girl. I have everything color coded on my calendar for myself and for my clients. I have multiple calendars. So that's how I like to live my life. And then I have days where I'll have like when I shoot content and I have, but the thing is sometimes you got to catch stuff like in the moment. So ideally you do have a calendar, but be ready for like surprise because like there are some times where something happens and because you're like the first to talk about it or do something related to it within 24 hours, you'll get the traction that you wouldn't have gotten if you waited till the weekend. So it really depends. Ideally though, if you have a calendar, then you're used to a cadence of having things and you're not like rushing to get stuff done. But I think like the main thing that people have a consistency isn't really about like time or effort. It's about like mentality and just being able to organize yourself. Like it could seem very daunting and overwhelming if you don't have a strong enough why of why you're creating the content and also a sense of direction of what you want to do. So that's why I like having calendars and having plans. And I always ask this, with all the different artists I work with. It's like, well, what do you want people to get out of the content? Do you want them to be entertained? Do you want them to know more about you? Do you want them to feel more connected to you? Like, what's the point of the type of content that you want to create? And then that makes it easier to actually make that stuff. So like, I don't want to be like content creation is not hard, but the hardest part is here. Once you get
And
out of your
create
head,
fun.
you can do because you're already creative. It's not like you guys don't know how to create. So the
Exactly.
content is an added layer to whatever you're already doing. It's and the thing is with content too, it's like you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You already have seen what people have done and you've seen what works. So you can just take from that and then apply it to whatever you do. I always say the easiest way to start is look at artists that you really like, that you really resonate with, and see what they do, and then see how you can leverage that for whatever you do. Is there a
So
specific
I
tool? Roadie has. You guys have a calendar, right?
Yeah, you can create your own social calendar. And it's really, with a proprietary AI, it's not just something that we randomly picked or used, the structure. It's a lot more than that. It utilizes your personal data. I think most of our Roadie users are aware of that, of course, because they have to connect their social media to Roadie. But combining them together, this is a powerful tool which can actually align with your stage of career. So you definitely should take it for a spin. And I see that Annabelle replied. She said, "Sorry, just started posting. I've been making music for a while." So it's more about starting her,
Okay.
journey
No,
on
that
social
that's
media.
actually that's easier to deal with. Um, if you've already documented any of your journey, you can start with that stuff because it's cool to kind of, you know, have like throwbacks of things. But I think a lot of the times what people can do if they haven't already, and even if you already have and it's been a while, is to introduce yourself to your audience. So you can do like a front camera thing and be like, hey, I'm Annabelle, yada, yada, yada. This is the music I make. This is the thing I do. Or you can show them, right? Like you can splice together clips of you doing the thing that you do, which is making music. And then I love a good voiceover. You do a voiceover, talk about, hey, I've been doing this for X many years. This is why I love music, and this is why I'm excited to bring you into my world. So and so. So I do like copywriting. Like I literally spend so much time writing like scripts for stuff. That's something we can work on if we do a session together. And I think if you already have music out and you haven't already, lyric content is huge. So you can use any sort of B-roll that you have from your own experiences and just put that together, overlay it with the music. You can use the native sounds from YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels or TikTok, and then just put the lyrics on the screen, and boom, you have yourself a mini lyric video. And you can even make longer form lyric videos that way. So that's like easy, like cheat code type content, depending on whether you sing or rap. Again, I'm so big on duets. You just look up, hashtag duet or hashtag producer on any of these apps, but TikTok is the easiest. And if you can find production that fits like your vibe, freestyle something on it, post it, right? Because it's not exactly your music, but it kind of gives people a sense of what you can do. And it also can expose you to that user's audience. So that puts the social and social media, right? It's not just about you and people interacting with you. It's how can you interact with whatever the ecosystem is doing. And of course, going live. If you don't have, so with TikTok, you need at least 1,000 followers. So do whatever you need to do to get to that 1,000 follower level. So that way you can finally go live and do stuff. But on Instagram, you can go live right now. X actually has the ability to go live too. So hop on there, do your thing, mess around. You can go live on YouTube as well. Test out going live. It's a great way to kind of just get a sense of how to feel comfortable, like on the spot without things being like scripted and whatnot. And it's a different type of feel than doing like a live show.
This is amazing. These are the two big tips I'm taking from you today, like doing the lives and probably starting my own duets very soon.
Yeah, no, seriously, everyone needs to be going live. Like, if you have over 1,000 followers on TikTok, you should be going live like 2 to 3 times a week. Like, and you only need to be on there for like 30 minutes. You could do less than that, you could do more than that, but go live.
So I see we have many questions, and we unfortunately won't be able to answer all of them. But let's
Okay, and
try.
just
Oh, I
really
see.
quick,
Happy Virgo season from Ariel.
just want to follow up with her question. How important is posting every day? There once was a time where you really needed, you would gain so much from posting every day, if not multiple times a day. That algorithm is not the one we have today. That ship sailed in like 2022. There are people who can still build followings that way, but it's very not easy to do unless you spend a bunch of time batching content and then just post like rapidly 1 to 3 times a day. I wouldn't do it unless you have at least 30 to 60 videos ready to go and you're not
Yeah.
missing a beat. Okay,
So
sorry.
I see a Happy Virgo season from Ariel Bridges. Hi, Ariel. Yeah, it's Virgo season.
Yeah,
You mentioned
period.
it earlier.
Period. Yes.
So Vincent Freeman is asking, how can crowdfunding campaigns be used for marketing? And how can you find more fans in your area and get them to listen to your music?
Okay, I guess when you say crowdfunding, you mean like Kickstarter.
Yeah, I
Um,
guess so.
and I honestly love that you brought that up because I wish more people would do that. So I'm not going to name any names, but there recently was an artist who is crushing it on X, by the way, who was supposed to go on tour. And she ended up having to cancel her tour because she couldn't afford to go. That post got thousands of likes. And I commented in the comments. I was like, hey, sweetheart, all these people who are in the comments and, reposting or whatever, like, they want to support you. If you want, you should think of setting up a crowdfund because you could probably raise all the money that you need to be able to go on the tour. She ended up not doing it. I mean, maybe her manager was like, girl, no. But I don't think there's anything wrong with artists asking the people who want to support them to support them. I think what can make it easier is if there's some sort of reward or incentive, right? So let's say, and this is why I like Kickstarter and Indiegogo and all those because they make it super easy, right? So it's like, hey guys, if you donate $5, you get to be put in a group chat with me and we can like talk about stuff. And if you donate $10, you get to listen to this song early. If you donate $25, you get a sticker. Donate $50, you get like a t-shirt, whatever, right? There's like different levels to it. And I think a good way to campaign that is obviously you posting yourself on social media, but also anytime anyone supports you, them making a post. So whether that's like on X or a little video somewhere where it's like, hey, like I participated in this crowdfunding campaign because I really care about this artist for X, Y, and Z reason. Either like I love their music or I've been following their journey for a long time, or I really want to see them be able to raise money for this tour or whatever. I feel so many more artists should do it because it is hard out here to get a bag. It really is. And it's such a great way to be able to tie in, your community to support things that you're doing. And then for finding more fans in your area and get them to listen to your music. Are open mics still a thing? So I live in New York, so like I feel like being a New Yorker, I'm very spoiled. Like I have a certain type of like privilege where there's music on every corner. I can't escape it. There's always a karaoke bar or an open mic or something. I don't know if other cities are necessarily like that, but if your city has those types of things, partake in that. And if they don't, be the change. Say, hey, I noticed that you have a cool acoustics here and you guys don't do live shows. I would love to be a live performer for you guys. And I can ensure that I can get 30 people to come in to pay $25 and I'll split the tickets with y'all. A lot of places will be like, sure, we don't have to do anything. We get free entertainment and we get money. Like, absolutely.
Wow, that
Right.
takes courage.
Yeah. So,
That takes
yes, it's super cool when you can be the first one to do something, but if not, just join whatever is already happening locally. Like you have to get involved in the local scene for sure.
So here, Vincent says we have a great open mic scene here in Central VT. Yeah,
Vermont, okay, period. I love to hear that. Okay, great.
go for it.
So tap in. You wanna. So here's the thing: like people who come from places that are not New York, Atlanta, LA, Nashville, like they feel that they're at a disadvantage because they're not in like music industry cities. The amount of people who are coming up from all over the country and the world because they're so big in their city that they can't be contained. Like y'all need to get out there, get in the trenches, make sure everybody knows you. If everyone doesn't know you in your city, you're not doing your job. Make sure everyone knows you in your city while you're also trying to make sure everyone knows you on the internet.
Oh, amazing. Um, I'm sorry, Nick. I'm sorry, Annabelle. We'll have to wrap this up soon with the last question. Yeah, with Ariel's question, which is kind of a short one. What's your favorite way to promote a song that's older in an artist's catalog?
You promote it like it's not. How does anyone know? The age of the song has never mattered ever. I just want to make sure everyone understands. It doesn't matter if the song came out last week or 10 years ago. I know like with playlisting, it's tricky sometimes because folks will be like, oh, what did you release in the last week? People don't care. Nobody knows that the first time anyone hears a song is the first time they hear it. It's new to them. So you would promote it the exact same way. If you want to do like an anniversary thing, you could do something like that. Like, hey, happy anniversary to this song. But honestly, I would just keep pushing songs as if they came out yesterday. Because literally, unless it has like 100 million streams, no one has heard it.
Cool. So, thank you so much for joining us today, everyone. And a huge thank you, Ladi Day, for sharing your insights. I think it was super helpful. I think we had more questions and some thank yous. And I wish
Appreciate
to
it.
thank you
Guys.
again.
Thank you.
Ladi, how can people follow or contact you?
So I would say the best way to get in touch with me is probably email. I'm not gonna lie. Like my DMs are an absolute disaster. But as you can see here, there's 33% off sessions with me.
Yeah,
So I do sessions outside of IndieFlow, but they're cheapest with IndieFlow, and they're actually cheapest that they're ever gonna be right now. Not gonna lie.
that's true.
So that's where y'all should tap me. Or else it's gonna be literally double the price on my site. So
So
yeah.
before we wrap up, so remember to take advantage of that special offer, $50 for one-on-one mentorship session with Larry Day, which is 33% off the regular price. This offer is only available for our Roadie community members. So if you're serious about taking your content to the next level, really don't miss out. And we'll be sending out details after the webinar. Also, the webinar will be available to watch very soon. And thanks again, everyone, and see you next time. Have a great day.
Appreciate it. This has been great, y'all. Thanks for all the great questions and for engaging.
Thank you.